Today we are moving to discuss about plant pathology. As we know that what do you mean by pathology? Which means something related to diseases, that is known as the pathology. Both are animal pathology are there, plant pathology are there. So in this topic we are discussing about plant pathology. So I just give an introduction and what are the symptoms of this pathological conditions. These are included in this video. First of all, how can we define the pathology? I told you it is relating with the diseases. Since it is the plant pathology, which is relating to plant diseases. So we can define the plant pathology as the study of biotic and abiotic agents which cause disease in plants. And the second is which include the mechanism by which this causal agents induces diseases in plants. And the third, it is the methods of preventing or controlling diseases to reduce the damage caused by the plant pathogen. That is the plant pathology, which includes the causative agents, the study of the causative agents and their mechanism and the methods of prevention. All these factors comprises in the plant pathology. And then we are very familiar with the terms symptoms and signs relating to a disease. So what do you mean by a symptom? So we know that when we are affected fever, we just feel that our temperature is rising. Likewise, there are certain symptoms or the expression of disease which is caused by the manifestation of physiological reaction, like as in humans. Okay, that is known as the symptoms. And the signs. The signs are the physical evidence of the presence of disease. For example, if it is a disease caused by the fungus, we can see that this white color patches, which means the disease which is evidenced by a physical appearance. So the sign means the physical evidence and the symptoms means that is the physiological reaction. The defined sequential appearance of this disease symptoms on a plant during the development of disease or subtotal of symptoms, which is known as a syndrome. Okay, the sum total of the all symptoms. For example, when we are affected fever, we can rises the temperature and also we are weakened and sometimes we lose our smell or we lose our taste. All these symptoms as a sum total, it is known as a syndrome. And likewise, in plant diseases, they are having a series of events or sequential appearance of disease symptoms all together known as a syndrome. Here I just quoted an example of plant disease caused by a fungus. You can see that first of all there is a necrotic spot, which means there is a localized symptom of deading of tissues, that is known as the necrotic spot. After that, which enhances or which expands to form a pustule. After that, that pustule which is changes its nature, that is ureterial pustule and teleal pustule, which we deal later, and then ultimate the death of the organ or the plant happen. So this sequence events which is altogether known as a syndrome of plant disease. There are two kinds of infections are there. One is local infection and the other one is a systemic infection. Local infection means, as the name indicates, which affecting a limited part of a plant. For example, leaf spot, which means which affected only that much area. The other one is systemic infection, which means which is different parts of plants, such as wilt or virus infection, loose mud. In all these cases, which spread out, the infection is spread out to different parts of the plants, whereas the leaf spot, which is limited to the leaf only. That is known as the local and the systemic infection. And the lesion. So what do you mean by a lesion? Which is nothing, a localized necrotic or chlorotic areas of diseased tissue or organ, which is known as the lesion, which means the affected part which may be which loss of their color, or sometimes which may cause some spots or something due to the diseased tissue or dead tissues. That is known as the lesion. Local lesion means localized spot produced a leaf upon mechanical inoculation with a virus. That is known as the local lesion, which means localized spots. For example, we can see that many leaves have diseased spots or certain holes. So these are localized, and these are due to the pathogen infection. Such kind of evidences or such kind of symptoms are known as the local lesions. So there are two kinds of symptoms are there, morphological symptom and the histological symptom. As you know that, what do you mean by morphological symptoms? Which means we can see morphologically or which appear physically. That is known as the morphological symptoms. Example, necrosis, hypoplasia, hyperplasia, hypertrophy. So these are easily detectable symptoms by any pathogen. If it is necrosis, we can see, or we can see physically, we can feel physically like certain dead tissues, and the hypoplasia and the hyperplasia. So all these are we can evidenced physically. Necrosis means which is the degeneration of protoplast followed by the dead tissue, or maybe dead tissue, or sometimes organ, or sometimes plant. And plesionecrosis. So what do you mean by plesionecrosis? Which means which are near to dead. Okay, that is the symptoms expressed before the death of protoplasm. That is known as the plesionecrosis, such as yellowing, hydrosis, wilting, all these which are near to death. Okay, such kind of symptoms are known as plesionecrosis. And holonecrosis means which are symptoms expressed after the death of protoplast. That is known as holonecrosis, like rots, spots, blights. We know that when we plant a tree, and if we are not watering for few days, we are seeing that the plants are sometimes, first of all, they are yellowing, or sometimes they are wilting. When we are continuing like this, or when we are not watering the plants for a week or after, you can see that it is sometimes or somewhat they are leading to death, which means they are almost like they are wilting, and after that you can see that ultimately leading to death of the plant. The plesionecrotic symptoms are yellowing, wilting, and sometimes hydrosis. So what do you mean by yellowing? Yellowing means, as the name indicates, which is the appearance of uniform or non-uniform yellowing of leaves. Okay, you can see on the plant or the picture like the yellow spots are there. How it become yellow color? Because we know that the green color is due to the presence of chlorophyll. Once the breakdown of chlorophyll occur, which causes the yellowing of disease or yellowing of these leaves. Okay, Example fungus diseases, virus diseases or bacteria, protozoan, whatever it is, which may cause the yellowing of leaves. That is the first symptom. And another one is wilting. So what do you mean by wilting? Which is the loss of turgor, which resulting in drooping of leaves, stems and flowers. Okay, what means the loss of turgor? We can see that the turgor pressure which causes the leaves to keep in their position, or their proper position is due to the presence of this turgor pressure. Once it loses the turgor pressure, which may cause the drooping of leaves, stems and flowers. So that loss of turgor pressure, that is known as the wilting. There are two kinds, pathological wilt and physiological wilt. Pathological wilt means which is caused by the pathogen like fungus, bacteria or viruses, and physiological wilt which means due to the water stress and high temperature. Physiological wilt means they may due to the not proper water intake, or sometimes if in peak of summer days the plant may lead to wilting. Okay, that causes known as the physiological wilt, and pathological wilt means which is caused by pathogens like fungus, bacteria or viruses. And the hydrosis. Hydrosis means the appearance of water soaked, translucent, diseased tissues, which can clearly understand by looking at the picture. So, the appearance of water soaked, translucent, diseased tissues, that is known as the hydrosis. And the holonecrotic symptoms, which means these are the symptoms after the death of the tissues. They are divided into three categories. One is the necrosis of green plant parts, storage organs or woody tissues. Okay, necrosis of the storage organs, like storage organs means fruits or sometimes tubers. All these are termed as the storage organs. So, which may cause, the necrosis may cause the rots and leaks and sometimes mummification. And the green plant parts. Green plant parts mostly the restricted necrosis like a damping of spots, short holes, flecks, blotches, streaks, stripes, which we'll deal later. Okay, so what do you mean by damping off? Which is the death of seedlings. Okay, the seedlings that may cause collapse and death, which is mostly just the plant parts just above the roots, that is the stem tissues. Okay, so that may cause the collapse and death of seedlings. And leaf spots, you can see the gray, brown or necrotic lesion on the leaf. On this picture you can see very clearly. So these leaf spots, that are again another symptom. And venal necrosis, you can see the coloration on veins, that is known as venal necrosis. And short holes, you can also evidence these holes due to necrosis in this leaf spot cracks. Okay, leaving small holes in their places. The necrotic tissues are wither off from the leaves and causing holes. And blotch. So what do you mean by blotch? Which is a necrotic area covered with brown fungus mycelium on leaves, shoots or stems, which also you can see on the leaves in our coconut leaves. Also you can see on this kind of patches. These are known as blotches. And streaks and stripes, these are actually the symptoms of mosaic viruses. So you can see like this streaks and stripes on leaves. And in woody tissues, all these are in green plant parts. And when come to the woody tissues, you can see that the dieback means the extensive necrosis of shoots from top or tip to downward. So that you can see the picture like dieback disease in this picture. You can see the necrosis or deading of tissues from the tip to the downward. So that you can see the plant is died from tip to downwards. And cankers. Cankers means the necrosis of bark tissues. So what do you mean by bark? Which is the outermost part of the thickened part of uh, the plant, that is known as the bark tissue. So the cankers that is affecting all this bark. And gummosis means the oozing of gum-like secretions from woody tissues. And another one is guttation. So you can see the cankers on the you can evidenced in citrus plants. You can see both on the leaves and also on the fruits. You can see the sharply delineated dry necrotic lesions. Okay, this is due to the death of cambium tissue of the bark or the outermost layer, cambium, which means the outermost layer of the tissues, which may cause the death and later leading to the canker. You can see the stem canker, and in tomato plants you can see the in this picture the bacterial canker of tomato. And gummosis means, I told you, that is the exudation of some sticky liquids. So you can see, which is also very common symptom. And the guttation, that is the exudation of water from plants. That is known as the guttation. And the extensive necrosis leads to blight, scars, scores, blast, anthracose, and firing. So what do you mean by blight? Blight means disease characterized by a rapid and extensive death of plant foliage. That is known as the blight. Okay, there are different kinds of blight diseases are there, different kinds of pathogens causing the blight. Okay, whatever it is, in all cases you can see that the extensive death of plant foliage or which may affect the leaves. So once it is affecting the leaves, because the leaves are the spot of food preparation. So once the leaves are affected, which may lead to the whole plant as such. You can see the blast of paddy. You can see the leaves are affected. Later the inflorescence are also affecting. So it is nothing. It is the death of unopened bud or inflorescence. And necrosis of storage organs. You can see the rods. So once the necrosis or the dead tissues in storage organ, which may cause the rot. Rot means the softening, discoloration and decay. Okay, so mostly you can see in the fruits. You can also see once we keep the fruits on a long time, you can see this kind of decaying of fruits tissues, that is known as the rotting, sometimes which may cause smelling. And the leaking means the exudation of juices, that is known as leaking. And the hyperplastic and hypertrophic symptoms. Hyperplasia means, hyper means what? Something over than the normal, that is known as the hyper. So a plant overgrowth due to increased cell division, that may cause the hyperplasia. Hypertrophy means a plant overgrowth due to abnormal cell enlargement, that is known as hypertrophy. Increased cell division, the overall plant overgrowth means hyperplasia, and overgrowth due to abnormal cell enlargement. The first one is cell division, uncontrolled cell division. Second one is abnormal cell enlargement, and also causing wound tumors such as galls, Enations. All these are known as the wound tumors. So tumor means the uncontrolled growth of tissue or tissues, like we can also affecting tumors. Likewise, the plants uncontrolled growth of tissue or tissues known as the tumors. And the goal means which are abnormal plant structures formed in response to parasitic attack. Okay, which is also goals may develop either by localized cell proliferation or increase in cell size. And ination, which is a symptom caused by certain plant viruses in which there are small outgrowths on plants, that is known as the ination. You can see in this picture also the inations are there. These are small outgrowths of plants. And hypoplastic symptoms. Hyper means over, hypo means which is somewhat lower than the normal. That is atrophy, hypoplasis, dwarfing and stunting. Rosette. The first one is rosette, which means the internodes. We know that the plants in stems there are nodes and internodes. Here the internodes which are not enlarged, and so that the leaves are clustered like petals. That is known as the rosette appearance. That is due to the lack of enlargement of the internodal area. And albication, complete repression of color. That is known, we know that the albinos, in the case white mouses are known as albinos, which means they are lack of color. So here also the albication. And the mosaic. So mosaic means the patches, appearance of dark green and light green areas on dark green and light green patches on leaves, that is known as the mosaic. And chlorosis means the failure of chlorophyll to develop fully, that is known as the chlorosis. So you can see the atrophy or stunting. Chlorosis, as the name indicates, which is the loss of chlorophyll from the tissues of plant and resulting from microbial infection. And mosaic means patches. And the another kind of disease known as the downy mildew, which means the formation of outgrowth, cottony hyphal outgrowth, which is as a result of fungal infection. And the ergot means the sclerotia which replaces the grain in diseased inflorescence. And these are also some diseases. Smut means the appearance of masses of dark powdery, sometimes odorous spots on inflorescence, which means which is causing powdery leakages. And the rust, as the means which causes rusty appearances to the plants, which means the color is somewhat brown color, that is the rusty color. You can see the rust here, the smut here, which causes in the smut there is a powdery outgrowths are there, and the ergots you can see on the inflorescence. So that is about the plant pathology. I just gave the introduction, and also these are some symptoms on the diseases. I hope all of you can understand, and if you have any doubts you can comment. Thank you.